You walked into that supermarket for milk and eggs, 2 items, 5 minutes tops, and somehow you walked out 40 minutes later with a cart full of things you didn't plan to buy, a candle you didn't need, a snack you forgot existed until you saw it, and a receipt that made you wince a little in the parking lot. You told yourself you just got distracted. You didn't. You walked through a space engineered aisle by aisle to make exactly that happen, and the people who designed it knew you'd blame yourself for it, not the store. Let's start with the milk, because this one's almost a cliche at this point, except most people still don't know why it's true. Milk is one of the most frequently purchased items in any grocery store, and it is almost never near the entrance. It's tucked in the back corner, often the farthest possible point from the door. That's not poor planning. That's the plan. Because to get your milk, you have to walk past the bakery, the deli, the seasonal display, the end of every aisle, and every single one of those stops is another chance for something to catch your eye that you never intended to buy. Retail researchers have a name for this. They call it the power wall or the destination product strategy, and it works on a simple principle. Force people past temptation to reach necessity. Here's a curiosity gap worth chewing on. Why does the bakery section always sit right near the entrance before you've even grabbed a cart half the time? It's not because bread needs to be near the door. It's because the smell of fresh bread and pastries hits you within seconds of walking in, and scent is one of the fastest, most direct paths to hunger and impulse buying that exists. You're not even fully processing it consciously. Your stomach reacts before your brain catches up, and a slightly hungrier shopper is reliably a shopper who buys more. Now let's talk about eye level, because this is where the psychology gets almost surgical. Grocery stores don't place products randomly on shelves. The middle shelves, roughly at adult eye level, are reserved for the highest margin items, the brands that pay for that placement, sometimes literally through what's called slotting fees. Cheaper store brands and generic products get pushed to the very top or the very bottom, the shelves you have to actually look for. And if you've ever noticed that the cereal your kid always wants happens to be at exactly their eye level, not yours, that's not a coincidence either. Stores have a separate eye-level strategy just for children, low enough that a 5-year-old in a cart seat is staring directly at a cartoon mascot the entire ride down the aisle. Then there's the end caps, those little display sections at the end of each aisle. Most people assume anything featured there must be on sale. Often it isn't. End caps are prime advertising real estate, and plenty of products sitting there are at completely regular price, just dressed up with bright signage that triggers the feeling of a deal. Your brain sees a special-looking display and fills in the word discount on its own, even when nobody actually printed that word anywhere. Let's talk about the cart itself, because this is one of the more quietly aggressive design choices in the entire store. Shopping carts have gotten noticeably larger over the decades, and that's a documented, deliberate shift. A bigger cart makes the same amount of groceries look smaller inside it, and a cart that looks half empty creates a subtle discomfort, a nagging sense that you should probably add a few more things before checking out. You're not imagining that feeling. It's a known effect, and it's been engineered into the literal size of the object you're pushing around the store. There's also the pricing itself, which is a whole layer of psychology stacked on top of the physical layout. You've seen prices ending in 99 cents your entire life, and it still works because your brain processes the number $3.99 as noticeably closer to $3 than to $4, even though it's a single cent away from $4. That's called left-digit bias, and it's baked into nearly every price tag you'll see today. Then there's the decoy effect, something you'll notice most clearly with bulk pricing. A store might sell 1 jar of sauce for $4 or 3 jars for $10, and suddenly the single jar looks like a bad deal by comparison, even if $4 was a perfectly fair price on its own. The 3 for $10 option didn't get added because most people needed 3 jars of sauce. It got added to make the option next to it look smarter than it actually is. Unit pricing. The small print that tells you the actual cost per ounce exists specifically to help you cut through tricks like this, and it's almost always printed in the smallest font on the shelf, tucked below the big, bold, attention-grabbing number that's designed to be the only thing you actually read. And then, right before you finally escape, there's the checkout lane stacked with candy, gum, magazines, tiny impulse items priced low enough that they don't even register as a real purchase decision. By the time you're standing in that line, your mental energy for resisting small temptations has been worn down by everything before it, a phenomenon researchers call decision fatigue. You've already made dozens of tiny choices walking through that store, and the checkout lane is positioned exactly where your willpower is running lowest, stocked with items cheap enough to slip past what's left of it. There's one more piece worth knowing about. The loyalty card or the app you scan at checkout for a few cents off. It feels like a reward for being a regular customer, and in a small way it is. But its bigger job is collecting data, tracking exactly what you buy, how often, and what a small discount needs to look like to get you to buy a little more of it next time. That data gets used to time coupons and promotions specifically around your own habits, which means the store isn't just selling to shoppers in general anymore. It's slowly building a version of the store tuned specifically to you. Here's the part that should really sit with you. None of these tricks are secret. None of them are illegal or even particularly hidden if you go looking for them. Retailers have openly discussed store layout psychology in industry publications for decades. The reason it still works on nearly everyone, including people who know all of this, is that it's not built around fooling your intelligence. It's built around your environment, your senses, your fatigue, things that operate underneath conscious thought, no matter how smart you are. Knowing that milk is in the back doesn't stop the smell of the bakery from making you hungry. Knowing the cart is oversized doesn't stop the half-empty feeling from creeping in around your 15th item. So what actually helps? Not much, honestly, in the moment, which is a little unsettling to say out loud. But knowing the architecture exists changes something. It turns an accidental $40 extra into a conscious choice you at least get to notice yourself making. A shopping list followed strictly cuts against almost every single one of these tricks at once, because a list doesn't get hungry from bread smell, and a list doesn't feel the pull of an eye-level display. The store was built for a wandering, half-distracted version of you. The version holding at a list on their phone is a much harder customer to work with. And once you've noticed this in a grocery store, you start noticing it everywhere. The way furniture stores route you past every single room before the exit. The way pharmacies put the essentials at the very back past every seasonal aisle. The way gas station convenience stores stack candy at exactly arm height by the register. Every space built to sell you something has been thought through this carefully, tested, measured, adjusted, and tested again, long before you ever walked through the door. The supermarket just happens to be the one you walk through the most, which makes it the best possible place to start noticing the architecture instead of just living inside it. Take the fruits and vegetables section. It's almost always the first thing you see. For years, I thought that was just tradition, or about freshness. It isn't. Color does most of the work. Bright red peppers next to green apples next to orange citrus wake up your brain fast. A shopper who feels engaged early on stays longer, and a shopper who stays longer buys more. The shopping cart is another small piece of design. It's bigger than most people need, on purpose. A half-empty cart feels unfinished in a way a half-empty basket doesn't, so people quietly add extra items just to fill the space. Even the wheels play a part, often drifting slightly to one side, just enough to slow you down and give your eyes more time on the shelves. Furniture stores push this even further with the layout itself. The winding path through model rooms is really a maze with one way out, built so you feel the pull of a home before you reach the exit. The longer the walk, the less it feels like a store, and the more it feels like a life you could actually have. Pharmacies play a similar game, tucking the prescription counter at the very back, so the walk there and back becomes a slow trip past cards, seasonal items, and snacks. None of this makes the designers villains. Most of it works like a good movie soundtrack, shaping your mood without announcing itself, so it feels like your own instinct instead of something built for you. But there's a real difference between being moved by something and being moved without knowing it, and that gap is what this kind of noticing closes. Once you can see the design, you get to choose whether to go along with it. The store keeps doing its job either way, but you stop mistaking its effects for your own gut feelings, and that's really the point of paying attention.